Morning, sixth graders. Today we are going to be looking and reviewing a couple things about expressions before we go into solving or simplifying expressions. So first I'd like to review writing expressions because I know this has still been a little bit of a struggle for us. So writing expressions, remember when we're writing expressions, we need to have the different components of an expression. It needs to be a number sentence without an equal sign. So if we look at the first one, it says write an expression that represents 4 more than half of a number. So the 4 more, so that more, if we look back at our notes, means to add. So that's going to come after than half of a number. So half of a number could be written in a couple of different ways. So remember, a number means our variable. So that's where our variable is going to go. And half could be written in a couple different ways. So we could write 1/2 x, or we could write x divided by 2. Both of them mean half of a number. So we're going to stick with 1/2 x right now. Then that 4 more means that we have to add 4. So our expression would be 1/2 x plus 4. Let's look at number 2. Let's see if we can pull out some important phrases. So it says write an expression that represents half the sum. So we see half and sum of twice a number and 4. So this of means that we have to add in our parentheses around twice a number plus 4 because we have to have that sum before we do half of it. So we take 1/2 times 2x plus 4. Then we have Ella bought 6 pairs of jeans for X dollars. So we have X dollars each and a shirt for 15. Write an expression that represents how much she paid altogether. So an important piece. So she bought 6 pairs of jeans for X amount of dollars. So we don't know how much the jeans cost, so we take our 6 pairs times the cost. Then she also bought a shirt, so add on 15. So we'd have 6x plus 15. And number 4. Millie has 4 less than half as many books as Ben. B. So it tells us this time what variable to use. So our variable for this expression would be BB. Millie has 4 less. So she has 4 less than half as many books as Ben. So B times 1/2. That 4 has to come, that subtract 4 has to come after because it's after she has 4 less than half of B. Okay, now I want you to try a couple. So try number 5. Write an expression that represents the quotient of 2/3 of a number and 6. So the quotient of 2/3 of a number and 6. So we have to think, what are our key words? So quotient means to divide. We have 2/3 of a number and 6. So we have to take 2/3 of a number. So that's 2/3 times our variable divided by 6. And our last one, I want you to try. Kate has to drive X miles tomorrow. Today she has driven half as many miles as tomorrow. Write an expression to represent the total number of miles she'll drive over 2 days. So we have to write an expression for both days. So think about what she drives each day. So our important information is Kate has to drive X miles tomorrow. Today she has driven half the miles that she will drive tomorrow. So today she drove 1/2 of the X. Tomorrow she'll drive X. So if you add those together, you have 1x plus 1/2 x, so you have 1 and 1/2 x in all. So that would be our expression. 1 and 1/2 x is how far she'll drive over the 2 days. So when we're writing expressions, it's all about reading and translating words into a number sentence. Today we're going to take those number sentences and we are going to evaluate them. So first, there's a difference between simplifying an expression and evaluating an expression. So we've already worked with simplifying expressions. That means reducing to a simpler form or combining the like terms. Today we are going to be moving on to evaluating them, or we'll be solving them, or finding the value of the expression. So let's review a little bit. Let's simplify our first expression. So remember, the first thing we have to do is we have to distribute that 9. So we're going to distribute that -9 to both our 3x and to our -4. So we have -9 times 3x. So a negative times a positive is a negative, and 9 times 3 is 27x. Then we have -9 times -4. A negative times a negative is a positive. 9 times 4 is 36. So now we can combine our like terms. So we have to find our like terms. We have -27x and 2x. Then we have our constants, +36 and a -10. So we're going to take and we're going to combine those two. So we take our negative plus our positive. So we have -27x plus 2x. So that would be -25. 25x. Then we have 36 minus 10. So we'd have plus 26. So that would be our simplified version. Now I want you to try number 2. What would be our simplified expression for number 2? So first we need to distribute that negative 2. So we're going to distribute it to the x, the 6, and then negative x. So we drop down our 4x. Then we have negative 2 times a positive 6. So that leaves us with a negative. So 2 times 6 is 12. Then we have a negative times a negative. So that leaves us with a positive. And 2 times 1 is 2. So we have 2x. Then we drop down our 4. Now we're going to combine our like terms. So we have 4x and positive 2x. And we have a negative 12 and a positive 4. So we combine our like terms. So we have 4x plus 2x is 6x, and a negative 4, or negative 12 plus 4. So we end up with a negative 8 to get 6x minus 8. So that's our combining or simplifying expressions. Our next part is evaluating. So that means solving or finding the value. So that means we're no longer going to have a variable left in our expression because we're going to use substitution. We're going to substitute in a value for our variable. So for number 1, we're going to substitute in negative 5 for each x. So our new expression would be 8x. So x becomes negative 5. And remember, since the two numbers are right next to each other, that means to multiply. So we're going to have 8 times negative 5 plus 2 parentheses. Now we have another x, so we're going to substitute in that negative 5. Negative 5 minus 6. So now we are going to simplify our expression using the order of operations. So the first thing it tells us to do is do our parentheses. So we have negative 5 minus 6. So we drop down the rest of our expression. So we have 8 times negative 5 plus 2 times negative 5 minus 6 would be negative 11. So order of operations says next that we do our multiplication. So we have an 8 times a negative 5. So we get negative 40 plus 2 times negative 11 is negative 22. Last we add. So we have negative 40 plus a negative 22. So we have a negative 62. So our answer when we evaluated that expression is a negative 62. For number 2, let's look at that one. We're going to be substituting in for y and for x. So x equals 1/2 and y equals 4. So we're going to take 4 times 1/2 minus 3 times 2 times, we have x again, so that's 1/2 minus y, which is 4. So now we're going to simplify again using the order of operations. So I can't lose that times sign in there. So first we do in our parentheses, and within our parentheses we first multiply. So we take 2 times 1/2, so half of 2 is 1. Then we have 1 minus 4, which is 3. So we have 3 times 3 minus 4 times 1/2. So next we do our multiplication. So we have 4 times 1/2, or half of 4, which is 2, minus 3 times 3, which is 9. So we have 2 minus 9, which is negative 7. Oh, whoops. I forgot to bring my negative down. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. So 2 plus 9 is 11. So our answer would be 11. That's why it's very important to watch your positive and negative signs, because they can change your answer so much. Let's try one more together. So we evaluate 9 times x times 4 minus 15 if x equals 3. So we're going to substitute in x for 3. So we take 9 times 4 times 3 minus 15. So we take that 4 times 3, and we get 12. Then we have 12 minus 15. We drop down our 9. So now we do our parentheses again. 12 minus 15 is negative 3. Bring it down. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. So now I want you to try this one, next one on your own. So you're going to evaluate 8y plus 4x. And I can't read because I covered it up. Minus 2x plus 3. If x equals negative 2 and y equals 6. So you're going to substitute in your x and your y variables. So let's see. So you're going to substitute first 8 times y, so 8 times 6 plus 4 times x, so 4 times negative 2 minus 2 times negative 2 plus 3. So remember, we do what's in the parentheses first. So we have 2 times a negative 2. So that brings us down to negative 4 plus 3 minus, and then we bring down the rest of the expression. And we still have these parentheses, so we have negative 4 plus 3. So that leaves us minus a negative 1. We have 8 times 6 plus 4 times a negative 2. So I'm going to just move down into this next problem. So we have 8 times 6 is 48 plus 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And then we have a negative times negative 1, so we have plus 1, because we have that double negative right there. So that double negative becomes a positive. So now we work left to right. So we have 48 plus negative 8. So that brings us to 40 plus 1. So 40 plus 1 is 41. So that is the answer to number 4. Let's move on to number 5. So number 5, it says find the value of 3x minus 2y if x equals negative 9 and y equals 2.5. So what is your value going to be if you use those two numbers to substitute? So you're going to take 3 times negative 9, and we have minus 2y, or 2 times 2.5. So we have 3 times negative 9 first. So that's on our left, so we get negative 27 minus 2 times 2.5. So you might need to multiply that out. So we get 10, we get 4, and we get 5. Put in our decimal place, so we have 27 minus 5. Or we can think about it as adding the opposite. So we have negative 27 plus negative 5. So we have negative 27 plus negative 5 equals a negative 32. And our last one says simplify the expression. So we get 2 times 4x minus 2 plus x if x equals 6. So what would be that simplified expression or evaluated expression if x equals 6? So we're going to take 2 times 4x, so substitute in times 6 minus 2 plus x, or 6. So we start with our parentheses. So we have 2. 4 times 6 is 24 minus 2 plus 6. So we still have parentheses. So we have 24 minus 2 is 22. Multiplication comes before addition. So 2 times 22 is 44. Plus 6 equals 50. So when you're evaluating, you're going to end up with one answer or one number. When you're simplifying an expression, you're going to end up with the variable still there. So that is the difference between simplifying and evaluating. Today we're mainly going to be focusing on evaluating because we've practiced simplifying quite a bit, but always make sure you read and know what they're asking you to find.